Greetings. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Death, Taxes, and Sports podcast. My name is Jeff Long. We are here after a 2-month break for episode 141 of the Death, Taxes, and Sports podcast. You see here, we got a new logo. Have to give a little shout out to our friend Sophia. You got to check her out at Twitter. Make sure I'm saying this correctly, Ben, because I know you're going to correct me. Sophia Artistic, Sophiaa Artistic. You know how to spell that. But folks, how are y'all doing today? It's been a minute.
Marisa?
I am so good. Just ready to dive right into some sports because a lot's been happening during our two-month rest and recuperation, and I know that we have a lot to discuss this evening.
Facts on facts. And Mr. Ben Holloway, how are you doing? How's everything in Cowboys world?
Well, it's another story. We'll get there. Don't worry. Let it simmer a little bit.
This show is going to be very therapeutic. Let's hope it's very therapeutic for you. But
first of all, shout out to the Motor City, baby.
Yes, and shout out to your
great for the city of Detroit. 313 Free World B Rabbit. Let's go.
Detroit is on the map right now, except for the Pistons. But outside of that, Lions.
Ain't talking about them yet. Don't do that.
We won't do that. But those Lions are super exciting to watch. Those games between them and Seattle is becoming a real good rivalry, very high scoring. I love to see it. And let's just hope they just defeat those cheating little ass Astros. But anyhow.
Lions, Tigers, no Bears. Oh, my.
Indeed. So tonight we have a full 90-minute all NFL episode. We're going to tweak it just a little bit because there's been some recent passings in the world, and we do have to take a minute to give some respect to that. But we're going to be talking all NFL. But before we do, we have to just take a moment to give some respect to some of the recent news that we heard about Dikembe Mutombo and Pete Rose. But Tigney, I feel like you might have some words on Dikembe Mutombo and what he meant. I feel like you do a very good job. You as well, Ben. I'll give you Pete Rose, but Tigney, just want to give you like 30, 45 seconds on just Dikembe Mutombo.
I think many people know him as the gentle giant of sports that came from his country in Africa, and the city of it is slipping my mind right now. And then starting his career with the great late John Thompson at Georgetown, and then making his presence known with over 3,500 block shots on, I believe, four or five various teams. But what people need to know about Dikembe Mutombo is Dikembe Mutombo, the humanitarian. We see a lot that he did. He gave back to his community, back to his country, back to so many people, and wanting to spread awareness of it is more than just basketball. When you look at your neighbors to the left and to the right that are in need, that you can do something about it. You can cause change. You can make things happen. And 58 years old is way too soon for somebody to be gone with him. And the thing that I hope and I pray for, and I'll end it with this, is that he has children that I know definitely he will leave a legacy for. But there was so much outpouring of love and memories that people spoke about him, that got to know him, got to play with him. And hopefully they will continue on and spread the humanitarian side that they learned from Dikembe from this moment on, and that hopefully will last a lifetime. So may his memory be a blessing, and thoughts and prayers to his family.
Yeah, and great. And yeah, I mean, he was no, not today.
Yeah.
The guy in the block, man, leading that team with Allen Iverson in 2001 NBA Finals. That's when I was kind of first exposed to him as an 11-year-old back in the day. But Ben, real quick, Pete Rose, man, like that one was, I mean, we know it's been very well chronicled in his career, but your thoughts real quick, and then we'll get to NFL.
Yeah, I'll just go on to Dikembe, just a quick add-on. He was a great player. He was an even better person. He was like the amount of community service and the amount that he cared, he was just a really, really good human being. And I would just want that to be, you said it, Tigney, but I just want to emphasize, like, he was an amazing human for all he did, just a really good dude and did a lot of work. Pete Rose, on the other hand, it's his legacy is definitely complicated. This is not the time and place to go into that, but obviously, condolences to him and his family. Clearly, he was an extremely talented baseball player. Had his issues, but Pete Rose did a lot for baseball. And you can, like I said, I don't think it's the time or the place to go into his misgivings. It's not, but he did a lot for the sport of baseball. So both of their legacies are intact. Rose is more complicated for obvious reasons, but both legends of their sports and will be missed.
Definitely. Well, wanted to pay some respect. I don't drink, but pour some for the homies that aren't here with us. But all right, now let's get to some happy stuff, right? A little bit of depressing stuff, but let's get a little bit and talk some football. Ben, we got a little bit of NFL overreactions through week 4. Each of us or all of us are going to be answering fact or overreaction, and then we explain why. Ben, I'll throw it to you first. And go ahead, Ben. Go ahead. You're already starting.
You skipped it.
Can I at least finish my freaking sentence? But go ahead. Go ahead.
Now we're back.
I'm done. I'm like, I'm on it.
You kind of just skipped over the first segment. We can just bang it out quick. Quick takeaways. Week 4.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Was that going to ruin your hairline? I'm sorry. Look at that hairline, by the way.
We got to start it out on a positive note. That's all I'm saying.
But that hairline isn't positive. So how are we going to start with something with that hairline, bro? Come on, join the Bald Man Club. All right. Anyway, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Let me do the first week, NFL Week 4 takeaways. Let's do it. Ben, take it away, sir. Does that make you happy? I'm so sorry. Love you, though,
buddy. So the Jets might be in trouble. And I'm not even going to talk about their locker room and their, Rodgers, their coach, all that. This is more specifically their schedule. The next 5 games. Vikings, obviously the biggest surprise of the NFL. The Vikings, Bills, Steelers, Patriots, Texans. That's their next 5.
Give respect to my brother.
And they're at 2-2. So Jets could be in a little bit of trouble. Flacco, Joe Flacco, he can ball. Seems like you put him in an NFL game, just throws touchdowns. Like I did. Like Flacco is, it's just impressive. To be able, last year, he was literally sitting on a couch watching NFL games. This year, he's on the Colts roster, but he's not expecting to play. The Steelers, their opponent, are undefeated. What does Flacco do? 2 touchdowns, wins the game for the Colts. Like Flacco, he can still sling a football. Still got that arm talent. So I thought that was, pretty important. And then the last one quickly will be now, they're still early, even though it's week 4, still early. But so far, Vikings are turning me into a little bit of believers. And the reason is they're number 4 in points scored and number 4 in points allowed. That's what we call balance. So those are my quick takeaways.
Okay. Very well said. I will hold my thought on something, but I'll let you go, Tignan.
I see your troublesome Jets, and I raise you a regressive Jacksonville Jaguars who basically need to borrow the map from Dora to the Explorer to find out their identity. Trevor Lawrence is looking like the first year in his 3rd or 4th year in the NFL. They have completely regressed, which is confusing to me because it seemed like that they were going to be, and they were talked about being that team that could shake up the division that they're in. And I'm looking at their numbers and I'm just dumbfounded. How in the world are you still winless in 4 weeks? I don't get it. And I don't understand what direction that this team is going. I don't understand the frustrations on Trevor Lawrence's part. I don't understand the offense. It's just like when I see them take the field, it's just like it's like question marks and uniforms and cleats that take the field. And it's just like a couple of these games that I saw them in. I mean, the completions for Trevor Lawrence is just laughable to me. Like, it's just like this is your first time entering into, like, literally it's your first time playing football. Is the basic the way that I could describe it. I mean, I don't want to be the dead horse when it comes to that, but looking at their next games, you're at home hosting the Colts, who are starting to cook. And then you're on the road in London against the Bears, at home against the Patriots, who, you know, they're still trying to figure it out. Then you have the Packers, and then you have the Eagles. So you have some teams that are starting to cook, and then some teams that are, you know, almost trying to find out their identity. But one of them I'll give a pass to, and that's the Bears, which we'll talk about later on in my frustrations with them. But the Jacksonville Jaguars have got to figure it out, and you know, hopefully they will, or it's going to end up being a hot mess. Another thing too, and he is not playing, and right now it is the Miami Dolphins, and it's Tua situation. We threw the bag at Tua, and all of us, we were talking and texting each other about should he, shouldn't he sit out, should he retire, should he retire. And it's going to be just unfortunate. I don't know if Miami can even salvage their season. Who was their quarterback the other night? Brett Huntley. I mean, when's the last time we've heard of him? The island of misfit QBs. They
got 45 points in 4 games.
I mean, that's an awful stat.
That's bad. I don't care.
That is bad. And then you know, and then
really
and here's the thing, Ben. If you think that when all is said and done, and Tua comes back, and everything's going to be right in the world again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who knows? One wrong hit could pretty much end his career, or something else drastic. We don't know that. So Miami is, I mean, I was already in my feelings that the double Monday night game that was on, that shouldn't have been, it should have been just God's team versus Seattle Seahawks. Those that watch the show, yes, I am a Detroit Lions fan. So that too. I don't want to talk about my team, but I want to kind of touch on and kind of go along with what Coach Campbell said at his post conference, and giving flowers to Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. They're a really good team, and Geno Smith is a really good quarterback. And it is a rarity that you will find any mistakes that he makes in these games. They were 3-0 for a reason until they came into Ford Field, and that was a battle. That was basically a battle of the offense. Let's make it 100% abundantly clear, gentlemen. It was not about a defensive stop or anything else, because both defenses was grasping for straws on both sides of the ball. It was all about who could sling it, who can make the plays, who can connect to their people, and who can get on the board and continue to score 6 points. That's all it was to. You know, just hit a wrong at the wrong time on 4th and goal and didn't connect to his guy. That was about it. Detroit had every penalty that you named. I mean, literally, they had so many penalties. I think 121 yards of penalty, or 21 penalties, and I forgot the outlandish number. But I just want to give credit where credit is due with the Seattle team, and for Mike McDonald. They got their coach. They got their guy. And I hope that Seattle Seahawks fans realize that this is a really good coach. This is a really good program, and one loss is not going to derail them. Hopefully not. Yes, it's early in the season, and we're getting ready to start week 5 in a couple of days. But Seattle is a team that's going to go definitely to the postseason. I already picked them ahead of time to go into the postseason, just for the sheer fact that this offense is dangerous. They got weapons on there. I mean, Jesus, we saw Kenneth Walker III literally go off. If you got him on fantasy, you're welcome. I mean, he was a problem at Michigan State, and my boys couldn't stop him in a couple of games that we had back-to-back seasons before he went to the NFL. So he is a sheer talent. But like I said, I love that Coach Campbell gave credit where credit was due to Geno Smith. That team is dangerous.
Yeah, and you know, and the one thing you realize is, like, Charbonnet too is no scrub.
No, he's not. You know, started off in Michigan, ended his career in UCLA. He can run.
Right?
He can run.
You're looking at this team, they're starting to get Noah Fant a little bit more involved. And they're built very similar in the sense that they have 3 really good receivers. They both, outside of Williams and St. Brown, but you get what I'm saying. They have at least 2 good, really good complementary receivers. I think Williams has made the difference for your offense for Detroit. You got a great 1-2-headed monster in Gibbs and as well as Montgomery. And I sent you that photo. I started both of them last night. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to run with it. The formula that you're starting to see is having two good running backs that could change the pace of the game, having a decent tight end that you can dump off in between the numbers, and being able to have at least two good, really good receivers. For Seattle, they have three. The thing is, can they get over the hump with the 49ers? That's the one thing that's going to be very interesting to pay attention to, but I definitely do think they are a wild card team, and I love how Geno Smith has really being able to stay in the pocket, and the game is slowing down for him.
He never took the chip off of his shoulder. That's what I dig about Geno Smith. Geno Smith has had, just like Sam Darnold, and sorry to interrupt you, Jeff, I just thought about these quarterbacks that were drafted into whatever teams that are no longer on there, and they couldn't find their identity until they went to the right team at the right time with the right coach. And that is Geno Smith, and that right now is Sam Darnold with the Minnesota Vikings. They've been bounced around for the league. This is the fourth team now for Sam Darnold, and now he is, as Ben mentioned, he's cooking on all cylinders in the NFC North. And it's like, okay, yes, I am a Lions fan. I love the competition because in about 2 weeks after this bye week, it's Dallas on the road for the Lions and Minnesota. And that's going to be a really good one. And after a late afternoon game on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's just also a further indictment and further laughing stock of the Jets that Darnold and Geno Smith are now thriving.
And I have something on that. And situations matter, folks. Situations matter. I do want to go and touch on Anthony Richardson here because the reason why, I stayed away from him in fantasy football, and Ben, you and I have talked about it in the pre-draft shows even last year, was his inability to throw short to intermediate passes. And I felt that was going to be an issue for him in the long game because you look at Michael Pittman, for instance, where he was pretty much a no-show in fantasy and really much was a no-show in the first 3 games. And then Anthony Richardson gets hurt. Joe Flacco comes in, doesn't have the type of arm that Anthony Edwards has, but what he is, he's accurate in those short and intermediate passes. And I'm concerned that he's going to not have an ability to become the type of passer that you need to be really good, which is knowing how to have the short game, the middle game, because you're not going to be able to convert third downs. Your defense is going to be on the field. As exciting as he is, I'm just extremely concerned about that. And then the last 2 things, and I know we're going to touch on Bryce Young just a little bit, but boy, does it make a difference how Andy Dalton has come in and has just completely orchestrated that offense now. Chuba Hubbard, now, Deontay Johnson, you got Xavier Leggett. Did I say that correctly?
You say Leggetti.
I said it, man. Hey, I actually said it.
But here's the thing, though, Jeff, along with what you said, and Ben, you can go ahead, is that experience matters when it matters. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Andy Dalton knowing what he's doing. So Bryce Young, instead of being on the bench and pouting and being in his feelings, he's going to learn from him. And that's what you see on camera. You're seeing him high-five everyone. You're seeing him be involved. Do we think that Bryce Young may ever be a starter if they decide to move on from him on another team? No, probably not. Probably his starting days are over with, but we never know that. Why? Because we thought Sam Darnold was done, and now look what he's doing in Minnesota. So
Dex. And then the last thing is Jalen Hurts, man. I don't know. Ben, I'm gonna throw it to you. And I just really want your thoughts on this, especially, and then Tiffany, feel free to jump in. There's just something not right about Jalen Hurts, and there's just something not right in Philadelphia. Just the way that they're not executing offensively, and I know that A.J. Brown makes a big deal. I get that, but Jalen Hurts is supposed to be a top 5 quarterback. When you're a top 5 quarterback, you find ways to be able to get the job done, and he's not doing it. And I kind of feel that he's kind of peaked. I feel that people figured him out. I feel he's on a little bit of decline, and I really hope I'm wrong. But then your thoughts, and then feel free to give your last thought before we move on to the overreaction.
Yeah, I just wanted to – Tigney did an amazing job with Trevor Lawrence, but I wanted to just make it even – you did awesome, and I'm just going to add a little tiny thing to drive
add some numbers to it, please, God.
he's second worst in the NFL in passing and completion percentage.
And what year is this for him? Is this year 3?
Anthony Richardson is the worst, and then Trevor Lawrence. That's not where you want to be. And
you've been in the league longer than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, by a significant amount.
You've been to the postseason.
Trevor Lawrence played better. He did. Hold on, give him a little bit of credit.
At Clemson,
they lost the game. They played a little bit better, but the thing is, it's not about having one-offs. It is ever since they started 8-2. They lost that
Yep.
game in week 3 against the Titans. He's been utter crap since then. Injuries, coaching changes.
Yeah.
I just think he's a middle of the tier quarterback. I don't think he's ever going to be that transcendent talent that everyone is expecting him to be. And you know what? That's okay. Not every quarterback is going to be a top 5 draft pick. Like, that's okay. But now, Doug Peterson, I think he's going to get fired. You got to figure out and try to find a way to get him active because he's athletic. He's got a decent arm. I don't know. But in the NFL, I want to get this thing.
Yeah, a decent arm and a suspect offense.
I don't know why Christian Kirk is not involved in the offense.
Thank you.
The last game, he had a hell of a game. But other than that, I don't know. That's coaching.
Yeah. So on to Jalen Hurts, though, because you asked the question, and I transferred it to another way. But Jalen Hurts, since last season started, you know who's got the most turnovers in the entire league?
Jalen Hurts.
And if you want, and being a Cowboys fan, admittedly, I probably pay a little more attention to the Eagles than some because, you know, that's in our division. Technically, you can attest to that. Same with Jeff. You pay attention to your divisions because that's where your team is. And you look at his turnovers. They're just dumb. They're just so and I'm not calling him dumb. Don't take it out of context. But the decisions that he makes, the interceptions that he throws, it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
That pass is not going to work. If it was Tom Brady, if it was Peyton Manning, it doesn't matter. You can't throw the ball in that tight of a window 30 yards downfield. You can't do it.
Let me ask you this since you're talking on the subject of it. Do you think that there is a strain between him and Coach Sirianni?
Well, there's something. I mean, that interview that we all know, that his answer to that question, his answer was what it was because how he really feels, he can't say. Because how he really feels, I think there's a.
I'll answer it for you. I say yes, and it's majority of that team. And it reminds me, and when I watch that team on the sideline, you know what it reminds me of? Reminds me of when Matt Patricia was the head coach of the Detroit Lions. And for that moment, you saw one player after another just distance themselves. And they literally checked out. And when we won our first game after losing the first friggin' 7 or 8 games, and we won that one game at home, and he was trying to fire up the locker room, you saw the body language. And the one that I will never forget is Darius Slay. Darius Slay literally was looking the other way and looking around like, is he done yet? Can we get out of here? I want to go home to my wife and kids. Yeah. The locker room was already checked out. They already checked out the season before and even going into preseason. They didn't want him there. They didn't want to be there. That's what this is, in my opinion.
Oh, no, there's a huge problem. There's a huge disconnect.
Big Fangio is no longer the defensive genius that we had praised him for years. I'm just going to say that. He's the D coordinator. I think he's lost his touch. That's all I'm going to say on that. But, guys, let's keep it moving here. Yeah, so the next topic. So now we're going to go to this. Now we're going to go to this one, Ben. You excited? Where's that smile? There we go. NFL reactions to week 4. So all of us factor reaction. We got to explain why. Ben, I have a feeling you're going to go on a little bit of a tangent.
Let's go, Ben. Cook.
So what we're going to do is, Tidney, I'm going to let you go first. And then, Ben, feel free. I'm going to let you fly with Dallas Cowboys missing the playoffs. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let you have that. But, Tidney, I'm going to let you go first. And then, Ben, I'm probably going to fall asleep. Wake me up when you're done. But go ahead, Tidney.
Dallas Cowboys will miss the playoffs. I'm sorry. I will say that a little bit louder so my Dallas Cowboy fan of a husband can hear me. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys will miss the playoffs. 2 reasons why. Number 1 is the serious injuries that you got that team has going on right now. I know, Ben, you're going to say it so much better than me. The Washington Commanders, and I know we're going to talk about them and the jackpot that they have of Jaden Daniels, who I already have pretty much considered as possibly Rookie of the Year. I think they win that division. I think the Commanders are starting to figure it out. Dan Quinn is basically his second chance of being a head coach, and he's taking full advantage of it. And friggin' Cliff Kingsbury on that staff. I mean, the Commanders are in command of their own destiny. Ben, I don't know what Dallas Cowboy team is kind of reminds me of the Jaguars. I don't know what Dallas Cowboy team there is. One moment they look like that they're just going to go and tear through opponents, and the next moment it's just really silly errors that they make, and the monies that they gave up for Dak, and that's why Papa Jerry was dragging his feet about Dak's contract, about CD's contract, and I'm not blaming CD because CD is absolutely phenomenal, but then now, he probably is having all sorts of celebrations money-wise, not injury-wise, about not paying Micah Parsons because he's hurt. It's just a lost identity with that team. And I think that it towards the end of the season, Ben, I think that they don't, unfortunately, it's going to be where they try to make a late run, and it's going to be too little too late, and they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, so I agree. I think they are going to miss the playoffs, and let's have a little bit of fun here. When you lose your last game of the season, whether it be Week 18 or divisional round, Super Bowl, whatever it is, you know what you're weak at. You know what you're strong at. You know what you're weak at. The end of last season, you could see that Dallas had CeeDee Lamb and the other receivers were blah. Okay, so that's a weakness, right? So, all right. Running game was a weakness last year. Okay, you might want to get better there. Okay. Third, they couldn't stop the run last year. So you would think in the offseason, the priority would be focused on those three things. They didn't do anything to address any of it. Like, they didn't get better at receiver. They arguably got worse at running back because they lost Pollard, and they still can't stop the run. So you had three weaknesses going at the end of last season, and somehow we're in going to be in week 5, and those three weaknesses are exactly the same. That, to your point, Jeff, offline goes to Jerry Jones and the leadership.
Yep.
Because I'm not here going to defend Mike McCarthy at all, but he's not set up for success with the roster that he has right now because they are so top heavy. They are extremely top heavy. And if me and you and all of us can talk about how they can't run the ball and they can't stop the run, don't you think the entire league knows that and wants to exploit that as well? Like, it doesn't make any sense that they didn't address any of the weaknesses at all. Could have had Derrick Henry for cheaper than he signed.
Oh my God,
cheaper than he signed with Baltimore. He lives there. He trains there. He would have taken pretty much anything Dallas offered him.
And has done he did everything that he can to do better in conditioning and weight training, his diet, his regimen, everything. It literally is like somebody handed you the keys to your dream car and you decided, no, I'm going to continually take the bus.
So that was a huge thing. But then I get it, he's going to be low cost, and he still would be low cost, and he has a ton of injury history. But like, why not bring in Michael Thomas? What's the harm going to do? You could say he's washed, and maybe he probably is, but damn, like, sign him to a minimum contract, see what he can give you. Why not? You can't be worse than what you're trying out there.
Yep.
So, like, that's one thing that I would do even, like, right now. But, yeah, they just have – their weaknesses are so obvious that if we can all identify them, the entire league can identify them as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, Parsons is but likely going to miss at least one game. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to miss at least 4 games, probably more. And we just said they were top heavy. Well, those are your top.
Yeah.
Your defense. If you're top heavy and then your top gets hurt, then you got more problems. So, like, they have so many issues. And the problem is everyone's like, well, put everything on Jerry Jones and it'll be better when he's gone. Got a message for you Cowboys fans. Until the Jones family and everyone in the Jones family has moved on, either dead or sold the team or whatever, it ain't getting any better because Steven learned directly from Jerry. So Jerry can go, Steven takes over, it's going to be the same damn thing. So as Cowboys fans, we're screwed for a while because that Jones family is going to have ownership in that team for a long
time. And the next 2 games is not going to be easy for them. On the road this Sunday at Pittsburgh and then at home against the Lions. And then they go into their bye week. Hopefully that they can somewhat heal up before they have the back half of their season. And their schedule, Ben. It's not easy.
And
the easier part was the beginning.
We're all sports fans.
And they're 2-2.
Yeah.
The reason why we do the sports podcast and why we do what we do is because we love sports. We're sports fans first. And as a sports fan, it is excruciatingly tiresome and is excruciatingly painful to watch what the Cowboys are doing because they are making so many terrible decisions. And I don't know if it's just I just don't know. You saw these things coming literally 2 years ago when you had to pay these guys. You waited a year longer to pay CeeDee Lamb. It costed you more money. They kept on going higher and higher and higher. Then you wait to pay Dak Prescott when you knew you were going to pay him because you didn't
before the game started.
Right?
Doing like an hour and a half
before the game started. Let this money just be a motivator.
And you can't sell a dream. You can't sell a dream to fans and say that you're trying to win. And this team has had arguably the best crop of talent in the last 5 years. And for them to not make it to at least one Super Bowl, I think is one of the gravest failures in sporting history.
Correct.
This team has had, when Zeke was in his prime, CeeDee, Amari Cooper, it's so many talented players.
Ready? I'm sorry, but check this. Here's their next 7. And yes, I went 7 because let's be real here. They literally could lose 7 games in a row. Not that they're going to, but they could. At the Steelers, home Lions, at the 49ers, at the Falcons, home Eagles, home Texans, at the Commanders. You literally could lose, not that they will, but no one would be shocked if they literally lost 7 games in a row.
Yeah.
That's a pretty hard schedule.
Exactly. And I'll just spit off just rapid fire on just some of these other things here, and then I'll throw it to you guys just for the sake of time so we can keep the things going here. I think the Commanders, I'm not ready yet to say the Commanders are going to win the NFC East just because 4 games is just not enough of a sample size for me to be on board yet. I love what I see with Jaden Daniels. I really do. But we don't know where he's performing at. Where he's performing at is not the mean, meaning that I do not think he's week in and week out going to be able to perform at this high level. We watched enough football. I think Terry McLaurin is a great receiver, but I don't think he's a true number 1. I think he's a good number 2. I still think they need additional weapons. That defense is going to have to make additional stops. I'm just not ready to do that yet. Week 8. 49ers, honestly, they should not pay Brock Purdy top 5 QB money.
Not yet.
He is a I want to give him all the credit in the world, but he's very limited physically in what he can do. And without having the right pieces around him, I don't think that he could go into Carolina and turn that team around. I think that if you put Pat Mahomes there, he could. Josh Allen, we're talking about him being the likes of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. I just not going to see it.
Not going to pay him yet, and unless I see him go and run it back as they did last year and win it. And that's not going to happen.
Well, Christian McCaffrey, I don't think is going to play this season.
There's both. What did they say? Both tendonitis.
Tendonitis in both legs. I think he's done. I don't think
that's a similar injury to Lonzo Ball.
Ball. I just don't see it happening. Ben?
Yeah. With Purdy, look at Dallas and look at the Jaguars. They're paying top 5 money to a quarterback that's not top 5. So the Niners would be doing literally the exact same thing.
And Ben, you made a good point. Tigney, do you think that there's going to come a point, and then Phil, then I'll throw it to you for the Cleveland Browns starting Jameis Winston overreaction. Before you answer that, do you think that there's going to come a point, and Ben hopping on this, where they're going to start questioning how much money they're going to pay these quarterbacks? Because you're looking at it. You're looking at Deshaun Watson, right? You're looking at Trevor Lawrence. You're looking at, Joe Burrow now with his injury history. You're looking at Justin Herbert. These guys, we're starting to get to now where we're getting into 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks. Tua, right? These guys making big dollar, either injury histories or not being able to perform at the optimal level of output versus what they're paying. Your thoughts, and then let's keep this thing going.
It's amazing to me how the bag is being thrown to some of these QBs who I just question, why in the world are you given the bag to? What have you produced? Or on the flip side of the coin, they have produced. We had Trevor Lawrence take the Jacksonville Jaguars to the postseason. We have Brock Purdy take, the 49ers to the Super Bowl, and they did not capitalize. He hasn't been paid yet, but obviously that's going to come up at the end of the season. Y'all know it will. And we saw Joe Burrow get the bag, and how many wins do they have this season? Enough said. So it seems like it's like bagophobia for some reason to me. You get it thrown to you, and yet the results is a catch-22 injury, poor performance, a mix of both. I mean, the bank account is rolling fat, but we're not matching the energy of what you are worth. You're getting rewarded what you brought past season, and then the bag is thrown to you, and it seems like you have, literally the weight of the money bags on both of your ankles, because all of a sudden you get concussed or knocked out, or you're out for several weeks, or so it's just interesting. We're seeing a pattern, gentlemen, of what the maximum contract can do to these QBs, and we're seeing what the results thereof are for these QBs when they get rewarded. It has been, unfortunately, on the negative side.
Yeah, pretty much. Ben, your thoughts, and then let's get with these other.
Yeah, the thing is, I just think it's going to continue because overall the NFL teams are dumb. Like, we've seen evidence where it hasn't worked, but these quarterbacks keep getting the money. So I just don't trust ownership and leadership to, be like, man, maybe we need to take a little bit easy on the quarterbacks.
Here's what I compare it to, and then we'll move on to the next point. I compare this money situation to, if you've ever been to a casino and you've gone to eat at one of their extravagant, amazing buffets, where literally wall-to-wall tables full of food, and many of them that you probably motherfreaking can't or even pronounce. And it's just in beautiful dishes with the best and finest chefs all standing behind there carving some phenomenal roast beef and some prime rib and all of that stuff. That's basically what this is. It's basically just wall to wall. Let's cater to this quarterback. We want to make them happy. We want to set them up for success and everything else. I say this because when you go and you see all this amazing food around you at the casino, and it's basically all you can eat, what ends up happening? You consume too much because you want to take in so much of it, and you end up getting full, which causes stomach ache and nausea, and sometimes you vomit and all of this stuff. My point being, you cater to this quarterback, you give them the bells and the whistles, and what happens? They produce what? Injuries, concussions, poor performances, turf toe. Oh my God, I'm out for 4 to 6 weeks. I got pulled and replaced with a backup quarterback that's doing better than me. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like the owners, and Ben is correct. It's going to continue to happen. The cycle will never, ever stop. Why? Because kind of like Papa Jerry, that's why he just drags his feet when he wanted to pay Dak. Where you got these other owners, it's like, oh my God, you did so great. You took us to the postseason. You got us our first win. Yes, we got knocked out before the NFC championship, but I'm so happy. Here's this ungodly amount of money. And then you come out and boom, you're 0-4. I won't mention any names. I already did.
Yo, can we get to the Browns real quick?
Yes.
Because I mean, we can call eye tests. We can, but
I say no.
Some of these statistics are so pathetic.
You don't start Jameis Winston yet.
It's so all right. So I'm going to say you should, and I'm going to lay out some stats. And
go for it.
I was going to stop at like 2 or 3. Then I'm like, well, that's horrible. That's horrible. That's horrible. And then that's horrible. So not Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson, as of right now, through 4 games. He's 27th in the league in completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
He's 24th in yards.
Mm-hmm.
31st in yards per attempt. 31st in QBR. 28th in QB rating, and he's taking the most sacks. I just don't. And to be honest, I think that the locker room probably turned on him probably week 1 or week 2. Like
because of the off-field stuff.
They don't believe he can get it done because you no longer can we make the excuse he was injured. He missed a year and a half. He hadn't played in 18 months. He was injured. It's a new team. It's a new coordinator. You can't make any of the excuses anymore.
He's distracted by what's going on in his personal life. Let's be 100% clear. He's been distracted for 2 years. He's got allegations he's still facing for SA. I won't say it on our program, but he's got still some of those that he has to deal with. He's been dealing with the lawyers and all that other stuff. If he is innocent as he says that he is, then this stuff, because an athlete, and I think, Jeff, you touched on it a while ago on the show, either you or Gary, talked about compartmentalization, that an athlete compartmentalizes of different things, of injuries, of, making a pass, the correct, shot for, before the game is on the line, and so much things that they compartmentalize on the court, off the court, different situations with their family, negotiating contracts, everything else. They just compartmentalize so much stuff. I think that's going on with Deshaun Watson, especially what's going on off the field. I say hold off on Jameis Winston. Why? Because I want to see how much of an improvement, if he truly is involved and wants to be the starting QB for this team and make the turnaround happen. The turnaround has to happen when they play the Commanders this weekend. If he does not get it together, if it's the still same crappy performance, then yes, put in Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston ends up tearing it up week to week, then you know what? Then that is the last that we see of Deshaun Watson. And yes, the Cleveland Browns will have to eat that contract. But if was a fifth, all three of us be drunk right now.
Honestly, yeah, that's facts. But you have to, but honestly though, the mental game really, really, really matters, right? And I think that just looking at it cross-functionally, that's what we've appreciated about Tiger Woods in his prime, right? Mm-hmm. His mental edge. As a quarterback, you have all of those allegations and those situations in your mind, and you're thinking about whatever case that you might have. You're trying to go through practice. You're trying to process information. Eventually, you get bogged down with karma.
Yep.
This is what we are seeing. We are seeing a precipitous decline in ability because of karma. That's what I'm just going to say. He's got his money, but he made a deal. It's like you made a deal with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we're going to give you all this money, but you ain't going to be worth it, and you're going to face a lot of embarrassment and shame.
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so. We won't talk about those situations. You go another channel for that. But it is going to go down, and I don't want to jump too ahead, but this is going to go down as one of the worst contract, I think, in all of professional sports. I really think it's that bad. $230 million guaranteed. It hasn't paid dividends. And this is a team that is super talented. You saw how Joe Flacco came in, orchestrated that offense like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
How many people, and side note to that, how many of the people on his team have come to his defense? I'll wait. How many of them have actually said that is my guy? This is our quarterback. He is our leader. How many of them have said that? If somebody can find that for me and let me know, and those that are watching this show, let me know. But I have not seen one iota of anybody on that Cleveland Browns organization. Even, unless Myles Garrett said it or anybody else that's well-known that's on that team that said anything, this is my guy. He is our quarterback. I trust him, so on and so on and so on. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah,
I haven't.
That goes to my point, though. The locker room has already came to a conclusion that he can't lead us to where we want to go. And if your team and your teammates don't believe in you, you're done. You're done. You can't overcome that. There's certain things you can overcome. If your team in your own locker room does not believe you can get them to where you want to be, you ain't overcoming that at all. Yeah. It's impossible. And I think that at this point, we've seen the evidence that, think about it. Let's say that you're Amari Cooper or you're Njoku, and you're on offense. You're seeing this guy. you see it. If we see it, they see it. How can you believe in him?
Ben,
How can you believe that you're going to be open and you're going to get the ball? Like, they see it. They're the ones frustrated because they're the ones running the I just don't think. I think it's come to a point where they are literally playing Deshaun Watson because of the contract, and that's it.
See, going into the Commanders when they played them on the 6th, Jaden Daniels' stats so far this season: 87 of 106, 897 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Deshaun Watson, who's supposedly a veteran, 91 of 148, 727 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
I mean, there you go. And to that point though, like, if I'm the Stefanski, I have to think about my own job, and I have to think about, am I going to lose the locker room by continuously putting out a guy out there? Like, they have a window. Like, they have a great defense.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is coming back eventually. Jerome Ford is a stud. You got, Jerry. This is a team with that.
Kevin Stefanski has to cover his own assets.
Right? Like, this is a team that I'm not saying is going to win a Super Bowl, but would we be surprised if Jameis Winston came in and they won 11 games like they did last year and made it to an AFC championship? Would we be surprised?
Yeah.
This isn't the same Browns from when they drafted Baker Mayfield. This is a different Browns team. That window, when it's open, you got to take advantage of it. But let's keep this thing going here. I'm going to start with this one with Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud, and then I'll throw it to you, Tigney, and then Ben, and we'll wrap it up. Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud will be better NFL QBs over the long term than Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. I'm a Caleb Williams fan. I am a supporter. He's a fellow DMV guy.
Say it.
He went to the Bears.
Say it.
He went to the Bears, and he went to the Bears. I thought, okay, maybe he's going to be different. This is a franchise that has never had a 4,000-yard passer. There's just something there with Jaden Daniels doesn't have anywhere near the type of complementary pieces that Caleb Williams has. Okay? Conventional wisdom will tell you got a Dunze, you got Keenan Allen, and you got what's his face? Oh my God, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
That is Cole Kmet, Swift, a goddamn good team, and a defense that is actually pretty good. I don't know, man. That's why I don't know. Something's just not right there, and I don't know if it's going to get better anytime soon. He's just not looking right. Something's not there. It's just funny how Jaden Daniels is just making that offense look so easy, and then CJ Stroud in a better situation. I mean, I'm going to have to agree. I don't think it's an overreaction. I don't.
It's called development, and we saw lack of it when Justin Fields was on that team, and the previous quarterback that was on his team. And I'm like, was it Trubisky?
Trubisky, yeah.
We're not seeing the quarterback development, Jeff. That's the problem. You have the talent. You done rattled off a bunch of players that we can pull from the bag of the last 3 to 4 years of current and former Bears players that are on other teams, and we're like saying, oh, wow, they're really good. They are good. They've been good the whole time. The problem is that they had a quarterback that was underdeveloped, and we didn't see their potential talents, okay? People should not be shocked about Justin Fields being as good. I mean, unfortunately, they didn't do so well and do so hot this past weekend. And obviously, I think that they're going to do really well against the Cowboys coming up on Sunday Night Football. But the problem is that the Bears organization has had a talent of quarterbacks and have been not able to keep them because of the organization not developing their quarterbacks. They have to go into the room and turn towards the mirror, and the first person that they see, they need to blame them. You get what I'm saying? There's no way in the world, there's no excuse in the world that there should have been that much of a turnover in QBs. Who's the real issue here? I fear in week 5, if they don't do something to develop Caleb Williams is going to fall under that same echelon, and something has to be done. Caleb Williams is a talented quarterback. We saw that at USC, okay? his last year, unfortunately, it kind of tapered off, but he still was going to be the #1 pick. And he ended up going to the Chicago Bears. And some people were thrilled about it. And some people were like, Jesus, he's going to end up, again, being that QB that doesn't get the proper development that he should. And it's showing right now. And I would hate for his talent to be wasted. And I'm saying that for someone who's a fan of a team that's in the NFC North, because I really want the NFC North to compete, because these 4 teams are showing up and showing out, with more so being the Minnesota Vikings as of late. But Ben, no one can tell me, you cannot tell me, there's no excuse in the world that the Chicago Bears shouldn't have an outstanding QB in years past, that they shouldn't have gone through this many QBs in a 6 to 7 year span already. Who's to blame here?
They're just cursed. I don't know, Ben. I mean, I just think they're just cursed. I'm not one of those superstitious type of people. Maybe I am just a little bit, but you've never had a 4,000-yard passer in your career. Like 4,000 yards is not like 4,000 yards is not really hard to do anymore. Like half the quarterbacks that start at least 15 games are pushing at least 4,000. I mean, 4,000 is that's like the standard to be a top 15 quarterback. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him, but he'll come back. But anywho, show goes on. But all right, Tigney, fantasy football studs and duds through week 4. You know what? Let's just kind of maybe change it up here, because I know how much you love fantasy football. Let's.
I want to talk about. Here's the thing. You talked a little bit about fantasy football and how you started 2 running backs, and you sent me a message the other night. Now I'll talk about them as the studs, and I appreciate you talking about running backs Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and them being a tandem of showcasing their talent. And anybody that had them, because I saw a lot of comments of people saying, oh my gosh, Jahmyr Gibbs, and oh my God, David Montgomery and everything else, blah, blah. And it paid off in dividends with running backs. Yes. And it paid off in dividends. Shout out to you for starting them and seeing not just the points that you obviously were rewarded for starting them, but seeing that they are the real deal for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I mean, the
thing
is,
hear me now?
Yes,
we can, Ben. Welcome back, buddy.
Sorry about that. Good
old
technology. I would say that the answer of Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud being better than Bryce Young and Caleb is a fact. I think that they will be, and I think that for Jaden and for Stroud playing in huge college games and big conferences, SEC, Big Ten, like they have had a lot of pressure on them for a long time. And the eye test for me is a big thing. And you can tell, we all can identify, does a guy have the it factor? And I think for both Stroud and Jaden Daniels, the answer is 100% yes. So I think that they will be better over the long term, and it's going to be kind of like, it could be these last 2 drafts could be similar to Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning. That 1 and 2 pick, and 1 is supposed to be better than 2, and we could be headed down that territory. It's very early for Daniels and for Daniels and Caleb Williams, but I'm just saying, it would be similar to what happened with Peyton and Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, it's gonna, it's unfortunate what's happening with them. It really is. It really is. But Caleb Williams, I hope you're watching, buddy. I need you. I believe in you, man.
Come on the show.
I remember seeing you in high school, man. I remember seeing you at DeMatha. I remember seeing you. Yeah. Come on now. I said that guy was going to be something special. I'm rooting for you. Come on. But anyway, let's get back to this studs and duds before you interrupted us, Ben. But welcome back.
I was giving Jeff a compliment because we were talking about the studs, and I appreciated him when he had texted me last night of starting the fantasy running backs or his running backs of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and the points that he was rewarded for the contributions they did last night against Seattle. And I saw a lot of comments on the socials about both of them and being used in the 1-2 tandem, and how Ben Johnson brilliantly. Oh, the offense last night was just absolutely brilliant. So that I was gonna compliment you on that.
Yeah, and and Ben, we'll toss to you as far as like studs here, but like I've just been a big fan of David Montgomery. I've tried to draft him in every single league that I've been in. And Field Yates, hear me, buddy. I don't know what you got against David Montgomery, why you say don't start him, or why you're always questioning him, but the man is literally averaging 15 points a game and is always getting a touchdown. I don't know what it is. And on top of that, he got a couple passes out the backfield.
And on top of that, he just got, for the second time, awarded by Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt. He got the Angry Runs Scepter. Thank you.
Right? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know. Am I going to become a Lions fan here? Let me watch out.
Come on through. Come on through.
But Ben, what are some studs? I think duds. I'm just going to say the whole entire tight end position has been one big dud. That's all I'm going to say. It's been trash.
Well,
but,
I'll name a couple stubs, couple different positions. Running back, Alvin Kamara and Jordan Mason. Number 1 running back and number 5 running back right now in PPR. Receiver, Nico Collins and Jaden Reed. Number 2 receiver and number 4 in fantasy. And then quarterback, Baker Mayfield, number 3 in fantasy. Jaden Daniels, number 4. So those are some studs kind of outperforming their draft position. So those are my studs. I don't know if you want me to go into the duds. Did you already give your studs?
No, so I gave the studs, but one dud that I really want to go into that I had here, I forgot. Where is that dude's name? Where is he?
If it's a tight end, it's Mark Andrews.
Yes, thank you. Kyle Pitts. Okay, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
I mean, just say, and then Carson Steele. I know Carson Steele was. Look, the man had negative points. I was not saying that he was going to go and replace Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco is a different, but damn, dog, negative 0.04 in one of my leagues, buddy. Come on now. You lost your job.
So Mark Andrews drafted in most likely the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th round of most drafts. He's tight end 40. In points, tight end 40,
and that's
it's only 12 and a half points through 4 games, and that was definitely one of your top tight end pick, and you literally are like, I can't trade him. Should I drop him? Like that's literally the conversation you're having right now, and that's freaking Mark Andrews, and that's the conversation you're having right now in your head if you own him in fantasy.
He's getting to that point. He's getting to that point of droppable. But but any other duds or studs, because I do want to be mindful of our time, and there's a couple other topics we want to get into.
So I'll go duds. I'll do the same thing. I'll go quick. Mahomes, QB 15. It's not what you expected if you drafted him. 2 running backs that are and they were drafted, one in the 1st round and one probably in the 3rd round. Bijan Robinson and Travis Etienne. Running back 20, running back 26. It's not what you want where they're drafted. And then 2 receivers, Chris Olave, and DJ Moore. Wide receiver 21, wide receiver 27. This is not what you expected when you drafted Olave probably in round 2 or 3. DJ Moore probably round 4.
And I have a lot of those. I have a lot of share of those guys. Lots and lots of shares.
So, but yeah, arguably though, more than anybody else, probably Mark Andrews is probably the biggest dud. I mean, 40th tight end, 40th.
So I'm gonna call an audible, and we're gonna get back to fantasy football. But I want to get Tiffany in this conversation because I know how much she loves fantasy football. So I'm gonna call a quick audible. Omaha. Who said that? Okay. NFL report cards. I really want to get to this one. NFL report cards, A through F. Stick them and throw it to you. Name 3 teams who get a grade A and 3 teams who get an F. As long as they don't include my Broncos, we're good. Now go.
Oh, your Broncos right now are sitting at a strong C+.
2-2. 2-2, baby. 2-2.
Oh gosh, you would throw it to me. Go to Ben real quick because I have a small debate on one of the Fs.
Okay.
I'll be brief. So A's, I'm gonna go Vikings, undefeated, got a quarterback that's underwhelmed everywhere else. Head coach deserves a lot of credit, by the way, Kevin O'Connell. So Vikings A. I'm gonna give the Bills an A, even though they just got blasted on Sunday Night Football. They got a ton of injuries to their defense. Obviously, no Stephon Diggs. Their coach is on the hot seat. Like, they got a lot of stuff that could derail them, and none of it is so far. And the Ravens might be legit a Super Bowl team. So that's not really a bad loss, even though they got obliterated. My third A is going to go to Seattle. New head coach, moving on from an icon in his own right, Pete Carroll, and McDonald has stepped right in and done a great job. So 3 A's right there. My F's were, and I'm not going to pick like the Giants or the Panthers or like teams that we expected to be bad. My F's are teams that are really underperforming where they should be. The Browns, the Jaguars, and the Bengals. And yes, I had to put the Bengals on there, even though they've been super competitive and they could be, 2-2 or even 3-1. But you are what your record says you are, and they're 1-3. You're 1-3. So compared to expectations, Browns, Jaguars, Bengals, Fs.
Again, I like it. Take it away.
A's, God's team out of Detroit.
Of course.
Yes. Not just because I'm a fan, but because of what I loved and I saw out of the offense finally on Monday Night Football. Defense needs a lot of work. They need to stop doing the silly penalties. Terry and Arnold, please hear my cry. Please, 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 no more defensive holding calls. I would love to watch a Detroit game where it doesn't involve.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but him, not only penalties, he thinks that he didn't commit any penalties.
None in his world.
He tackles the guy, and then he's like, dude, what did I do?
And he's just standing there lost. I'm like, boo, that's somewhere that you got away with when you played at Alabama. That's wonderful. You are in the 3 letters, the National Football League. The stuff that you got away with at Roll Tide, you can't do that in One Pride. You see how I made that rhyme? Please do not stop costing us yardage with all these silly penalties. That's all I beg of you. But nevertheless, hopefully during the bye week they get healthy. I would love again not to watch a game where it doesn't involve Penei Sewell costing us more yardage because he can't stand still or sit still, stay in the area before the hut is taken. Please, Jesus. Anyway, Minnesota Vikings would have never suggested, but great for Sam Darnold, but we're going to give them their first loss in the next 3 weeks. And then again, I gave them their flowers ahead of the show, on the top of the show, but the Seattle Seahawks, they have something special there with Coach McDonald at the helm as head coaching. Geno Smith, absolutely incredible quarterback. They got the weapons that we mentioned. The running game there, Charbonnet, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker III. They have those weapons. DK Metcalf. I mean, this is a special Seahawks team. They look like they're buying into what Coach Mike McDonald is selling. And so it's going to be interesting to see how well they're going to do. And I already picked them that they're possibly going to get a wild card going into the postseason. The Fs, I mean, I already tore them up. I'll tear them up one last hot second, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Please find the identity of who you are and not whenever you feel like it. Miami has a problem right now. They need to figure out their quarterback situation. Tyler Huntley is not it. They need to figure out who else they can bring in and then revisit that topic that they gave the bag to a concussion investment by the name of Tua Tagovailoa and see what happens there. And then I have a tie. Sorry, the state of Ohio. I know you hate me, and it's not because of the Ohio State thing. It's because we need to figure out the identities of the Bengals and the Browns. Who are they? What are they? What's happening with your QB situation, with the offense situation? It's just a semi-mess right now, and as Ben beautifully stated, a $230 million horrible investment. We need to see what he can do against the Commanders. Other than that, y'all need to move on from him, eat that money, and see what how you can salvage your season. Because my friend Watson is the problem, and see how it goes.
I like it. So for F's, I'm going to go one with Tennessee because I do not think Will Levis is the answer. Ben, last year we had talked about which quarterbacks were, we had talked about maybe Kenny Pickens potentially being a sleeper quarterback last year, right? I thought that maybe Will Levis was going to be that guy, but I just do not think he's an NFL caliber starting quarterback. I still think he's still making the same mistakes. And it's just absolutely horrific how they're continuing to put him out there. They actually have a pretty decent defense, pretty surprising. They
really do.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is actually pretty good and surprising, and actually was good last year too.
Yeah.
Like the Titans.
This is not a bad team in that division. If they had better quarterback play, I think that with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears and some of the weapons that they have, like I don't know how you pay.
They just got that. They just got the Chiefs' top corner Snead too,
right? And then the receiver
that defense is good.
And they're paying a guy $23 million, Calvin Ridley. I think they're paying Calvin Ridley $23 million, and he's not even been utilized in the offense whatsoever. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then another F. I'm going to go with Arizona, and I'm going with Arizona because based on if they had played better, I wouldn't give them an F. But the fact that they just got dominated at home. 42-14 when we all thought this was going to be a shootout. And the way that they are inconsistently utilizing your number 4 overall draft pick. Okay. That's a man that should have 10 to 12 targets every game. He was wide open against Buffalo. Could have been the game winner. Didn't throw it to him. Kyler Murray's like, well, that's not my job. Well, you idiot. You're that's your job is to throw the damn ball. So I have to give him F's. And then I also have to give Philly. Just based on what we had as far as expectations, the number of turnovers that Jalen Hurts is playing, he's my fellow D9 brother, but man, you got to turn it around. And I know that AJ Brown missing, it can only count for so much, but to get dominated the way that they have on both sides of the ball, they're not getting the type of push on the offensive line that they used to. They're not getting the type of pass rush that they used to. They're not containing their gaps like they used to. Sirianni is probably going to get fired by week 10, week 11 if they go on a losing streak here. I really do think so.
And Big Don cannot save them.
Right? Facts. Pittsburgh, I'm going to give an A.
Yeah.
I like say what you want about Tomlin. The 9-8 records, not winning, not winning a Super Bowl, but damn, we see what happens with teams when there's continuity at the head coaching, there's continuity at ownership, and there's that level of consistency.
But he hasn't had a losing season, so people can't get upset about that.
Right? So I really think that that game last night, the way that they've been managing Justin Fields and Arthur Smith, surprisingly, opening up the playbook just a little bit more, and he had his first 300-yard passing game in Lord knows how long. So I have to give them an A on that. Houston, the way they came back, they almost lost that game to Jacksonville. They should have lost that game to Jacksonville. The way they got owned in week 3 when Nico Collins was just pretty much disappeared, was a no-show. I love how they came back. And then, and I'm going to give another A to that team in Denver, Colorado, those Denver Broncos. And I'm only saying it because of based on what we heard expectations. This was a team. Yeah. This was a team that we're almost at our we were projected to win only 4 games this year, and we're already halfway there, and it's only the beginning of October. I'm not saying playoffs, not saying that. I still think we're going to win 5 or 6 games, but to go into the Jets and to win the way they did, the defense the way they're playing, Bo Nix, you need to throw more than 465 yards in a game. Maybe it's a little bit of fandom, but I'm gonna give them an A just based on being 500, based on expectations.
We're talking about money, right? And people getting too much money, or people and one person that we can say earned his money, I'd say hands down, Surtain is the best corner in the league.
Patrick Surtain.
He shadows everybody and he shuts down everybody. Like before last,
I don't think he's being talked about enough either.
That's what I'm saying. Like he went up against, so he followed Mike Evans, he followed DK Metcalf, he followed Garrett Wilson, and I can't remember their fourth opponent, but none of them had over 50 yards, and 3 out of the 4 had less than 30 yards. And these are like elite receivers that he's just shutting down. Like Surtain, there isn't a better corner in the league.
I'm sold, because at first I was like, we should have drafted Justin Fields with that 9th overall pick, but I'm like, you know what? Now I'm like, hey, I ain't mad at it. Not mad at it at all.
I think, gentlemen, and I was going to ask you real quick, Jeff, do you think we have seen the last of Russell Wilson as a starter?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Justin Fields is the younger, he's the more spry quarterback. I mean, he gives you the better upside. This is a team that has a gauntlet of a schedule later in the year. They probably have the hardest.
They don't play the NFC North until week 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
all they play. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
So if they need to pad wins now and give him the confidence, and they need to just run with Justin Fields for the rest of the year. I know they lost that game, but he's starting to come along slowly. And unfortunately, but hey, Russell Wilson's still getting paid $38 million by us. So I mean, he'll be fine.
Yeah. I was just gonna say on Tomlin, his legacy is pretty clear, but I just want to play a little devil's advocate. He has done a great job for his entire career, but two things can be true at the same time. Hear me out. When he had Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Big Ben, to them to not even make a Super Bowl, let alone win, they didn't even make a Super Bowl when you had, most people would say, the best running back and the best receiver at the same time. You didn't meet the expectations.
Right.
So, like, you failed to live up to the expectations when you had them, and now that you don't have them because you don't have the roster, you're doing the opposite. You're exceeding. I'm not saying he's not a great coach. He's not a Hall of Fame coach. He will be in the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. But he did underachieve given the rosters that he had at the beginning of his career.
Yeah. Facts. But hey, let's keep this thing rolling here. Tignan, I'm just going to throw it to you first. And then we have time. We'll get back to fantasy football. But I want to get these other two topics in. Deshaun Watson, is this the worst trade in sports history? Take it away. If not, then what?
One of the, yes, because it's right now is going to turn out to be where Cleveland is going to have to eat a lot of money because the return of investment is not there. And I talked about it already in this show that the off the field issues have been a distraction for him. And to wait to see how the performance will be this weekend against the Commanders, if we could see the shades of Deshaun Watson of the old and the capabilities of him being that lead on the field and his talents showcasing against an up-and-coming Jaden Daniels and this Washington Commanders team on the road. If not, then obviously they need to move on and go to Jameis Winston. But $230 million and all of that guaranteed, and it's not happening, is leaving a lot of bad taste and a lot of the mouths in the Cleveland Browns organization. And the thing is, it's going to be unfortunate if they're not going to turn this around, and they have to, like, literally, it is a straight up 9-1-1 in this season starting Sunday when they play the Commanders, or else they're screwed. I don't know what else to put it, but it's sad, so to say, gentlemen, because Deshaun Watson is a talented quarterback, but the things that are happening that he's being accused of off the field is shadowing him, and it's going to shadow him for the rest of his life. It's more so, I can't think of any 5 highlights, 3. I can't think of any highlights that is just like, oh my God, I remember when there was a time in the fourth quarter that he just brought back
I think he's played 20 games with the Browns now. Or
20
19.
games.
There's been one game, that he looked like a top 10 quarterback. One time. It was at Baltimore last year when they had a fourth quarter comeback.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
One game. And
but see how you have reminded me of that, though?
And unfortunately, he got hurt in that game and didn't play the rest of the season.
That part.
But literally, in 20 games, you've looked like a top 10 quarterback.
I remember the injury, and then remember the performance. Mm-hmm. See that, and so that's so sad where you just remember 2 things: the off the field issues and the unfortunate injuries that he's had, and the suspensions that goes along with the off the field issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
230 million, baby. Yeah. This is why, going back to the money thing, gentlemen, this is why we're going to get a lot of these doggone players that believe that their value is up there in that echelon of that kind of money because they believe wholeheartedly, aka their agents, that they produced enough, they did enough, they contributed enough to get paid.
Yeah.
And so they go and, we saw it with Jamar Chase and several other players where they drag their feet, and what's the return of investment? Where's the Bengals sitting right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna be more definitive than you, Tigney. I'm gonna say yes, and I don't really care if Houston wins the Super Bowl or not. The combination of the most money in NFL history, clearly, making the most money currently, and he's in 20 games played like a bottom 5 quarterback. You're making the most, and you've played your level of play on the field amongst many statistics, almost every statistic. He's bottom 5 the last 3 seasons in all the games that he's played. Most money, bottom 5 performance. That in itself is one bad thing. Secondly, they gave up 3 first-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, and a third-round pick, and they got Deshaun Watson, and they gave him $230 million. And what I just said is he's looked like not even top 10. He's looked like a competent quarterback. He's looked like an average quarterback once in 20 games. Literally one time, he's looked like somebody who like, damn, we can win with you. He's looked like that once in 20 games. And the last time he was at his peak and he was great was 2020. Literally. It's not happening. He's not getting there. He's not getting anywhere close to there. Too much time has gone by. He's not going to be what he was ever. What he was with the Texans, he will never be again in his life. And I think, like I said, even if the Texans don't win a Super Bowl, I think it's the worst trade based upon the amount of money, the amount of draft picks, and then just the performance on the field. Specifically on the field, we're paying you the most money, and you look like one of the worst 5 quarterbacks in the league.
Baby, if the Texans end up going into the Super Bowl, let alone, they're going to be basically like Deshaun Watson who? It's starting to be like that because they have so much invested in CJ Stroud, who will, with the results that he's doing, will be paid down the road after the rookie's contract ends. But excellent points, Ben.
Yeah. Listen, I never knew there was a worse quarterback like this before. He's just, I don't know, man. I don't know how you could fall off. So, like, what he did in Houston was absolutely stunned with absolutely no talent whatsoever. I don't know. But we could talk to Deshaun Watson forever. All right, let's finish this one up. Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr., who do we think has the better career? I mean, I think it's really going to depend on who's the quarterback for the Giants in the next 5 to 8 years.
That's what I was going to say. Nope.
Yeah, because if it's Daniel Jones, and it's crazy because like Daniel Jones, I have Malik Nabers in a big money league, man, and like I was a little bit nervous at first because I had a chance to draft Michael Pittman, but I'm like, okay, Malik Nabers is doing it, but I'm like, how long can Danny No Dimes Jones play? Like he's actually been playing relatively decent the last couple of weeks, but you can't see that happening over the duration of a 14-game season, over a 17-game season.
Yeah.
So
to your point on Kyler Murray and Harrison, though, like Daniel Jones is giving Nabers the ball 12, 15 times a game. Like he knows that's my guy.
Yeah.
Murray's got to be like, that's my guy. Like
you got what you just said, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You got that's my guy versus that's my guy. You hear what I was like? Question marks. Like, what are you questioning? That should be your guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, he's right there. As Jeff mentioned, the times that he was open in the last game, and you didn't throw to him.
And they literally Jeff was on.
That's on Kyler Murray.
Jeff was 100% right. They should have beat the Bills in week 1 if Harrison got the ball.
That part.
So like the thing is, it's like there's a reason Harrison Jr. They said not this year, the previous year, if he was eligible, would have been the number 1 overall pick.
Correct.
That's how great of a talent he is.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see Danny Dimes feeding Nabers, I'm like, Kyler, what are you doing? Like, you got a guy, man. You got like a stud. You should be using him more. And I'm sorry, Jeff, interrupting you, but it's just like they're being utilized like differently, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, like again, it's 4 games, so like I try not to get too caught up too much on 4 games, but we're almost at the quarter-way of the season, and I think that like now that we're at 17 games, I think like weeks 4 and 5 really kind of shows or gives you a little bit of a litmus test as far as where things are. And right now, Malik Nabers is getting the touches. He's getting the targets. I mean, you use him. I hope to God he comes back from his concussion. He didn't look too good there, but I don't know. We'll see. But cool. Great, guys. Great.
Quick thoughts on Von Miller. 4-game suspension. Violating NFL standards policy.
Well, you guys know how dear my friend Von Miller is to my heart. We've had a lot of memories together. And he is my best friend. And I hope that whatever goes on, no, let me stop. I don't know. He's making dumb decisions. There's nothing to defend. There must be something else going on. I don't know. But your thoughts, Signe?
Yeah, there is something else going on. It's unfortunate, and I think I texted you, Jeff, when the whole allegations came up of what he did with his significant other and everything else, and people seeing him in a different light. And that story, she changed her story and all of that. But when a man, especially a Black man, is accused of something that strenuous, of that, and beats the rap, if you will, or tries to deny the fact or is proven innocent, kind of that little sting of the accusation stays with them, even though that they're innocent, even though that they cleared all the charges, and even though people still are going to look at you with a side eye, which I think some of that is with still unfortunately on Von Miller. But nevertheless, a 4-game suspension is steep because the Bills need him. And whatever that he is being suspended for and the facets of it, I didn't see if he is like challenging it or, if it's going to be upheld, whatever. But we were starting to see the Von Miller of old in week 1, week 2, when he had that big sack on the quarterback. And I'm trying to remember what game it was. It was good to see him be back and into the person that I saw when he played for at Denver. I don't know. This is interesting to me. And just do a little bit more detail on the reason why. I would like to know. But it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Facts. Ben, you have any thoughts? I know I do have a hard stop here at the hour and 30 mark, but let's just do 2 quick trade targets: sell highs, sell lows. Ben, Signe, and then I just have a hard stop.
Yeah, no, we're good. I'll go super quick. Buy lows. Clearly, that means people you should trade for who haven't performed yet. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, James Conner.
Ooh.
That's my buy lows. And because we're pressed for time, I'm not going to go stats or anything, but those are my 3 names. Sell highs, Aaron Jones, DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams.
Ooh. I don't have as many as you do. I just have one name and one name only, just because he is, not happy where he's at. And that's Devontae Adams.
Devontae, yeah.
The Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
They need to figure out what's going on and why he informed the team that he prefers to be traded.
Yeah.
I mean, that high of highs with Antonio. Oh my God, why is his name slipping me? The head coach.
Antonio Pierce.
Thank you, Antonio Pierce. The honeymoon period is over, it seems, because now you got somebody that wants to get off of that team.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be the coach? Could it be that they're not, that's they got a QB situation that isn't stable in that organization as well with Gardner Minshew?
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting the touches of the balls he should. We're seeing, the camera zoom in on his frustrated face on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Honeymoon period is over with the Raiders. Why does he want to be traded? And is that going to happen? Probably not. But you never know with the NFL.
The Raiders are a complete mess. And, I'm really hoping our friend head coach, I hope that he is able to keep his job. I don't think they're going to give him too much of a long leash. They're really going to have to turn this around very quickly. Very quickly. He can't go into the season. He can't go, and I get the quarterback situation. I get all of that, but you have Brock Bowers and you have Devontae Adams. Like, you have, enough talent there. But anyway, I don't know. But all right, we do have a hard stop. Signe, Ben, it was great.
We back, baby.
Right, I just got one small little thing, one small little nugget. How do I say this? It's like I got nothing. All right, guys. Y'all like that suspense, right? Y'all like that suspense. Right? I was like, little dramatic effect.
That was good.
This is a great time to be a sports fan because we got baseball. I was watching baseball. We had, NBA starting up soon. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens with Bronny James.
Go home, Houston.
We'll see. Go home. But all right, guys, that is all for this evening. We appreciate all your support. We'll be back same time, same place. Until next time, goodbye.
Peace.
Peace.